Good morning. My name is Olivier de Scuter. I'm the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Extreme Poverty and Human Rights. And I would like to congratulate Echo for Peace for giving us hope. Echo for Peace is organizing on 25th, 26th, and 27th of April across 14 cities musical events that call for peace. From Belgium to France and Germany, from Italy and the Netherlands to Norway and Poland, from Portugal and Spain to Sweden and Switzerland. This is extremely important as it takes place against the background of an unprecedented regression of international law. The interruption, in fact, of a process of civilization, as it was called by Norbert Elias, that many of us thought was interrupted and irreversible. This process of civilization was to replace might with right. It was to replace force with law. It was to replace the use of war as an instrument in international relations with the peaceful settlement of disputes between nations. Now, this ideal was, of course, at the heart of the establishment of the United Nations in 1945 after the Second World War. And I would like to quote from the Charter of the United Nations because the words that were pronounced 80 years ago still resonate with us today. The Charter says this: "We, the peoples of the United Nations, determined to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war, which twice in our lifetime has brought untold sorrow to mankind. We resolve to ensure that armed force shall not be used save in the common interest." And Article 2 of the Charter of the United Nations includes a pledge from all members of the United Nations to settle their international disputes by peaceful means in such a manner that international peace and security and justice are not endangered. Article 2 of the Charter of the United Nations also includes a pledge to refrain in their international relations from the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state. Yet, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, today we live in a world in which the use of armed force against the territorial integrity of sovereign states is becoming routine. We live in a world in which powerful nations openly jockey for access to precious resources, including oil, rare earth elements essential to the production of electronic devices such as smartphones, computers, or electrical cars. We live in a world in which conflicts causing hundreds of thousands of deaths, or even millions, as in the eastern DRC, are ignored by the media and neglected by governments. They are orphan wars, just like we have orphan diseases, and in both cases, these are not priorities because the victims are poor and powerless. We live in a world in which we are receiving indications of genocides being committed without effective action by the international community to stop them, although there is a duty in international law for all states, regularly reaffirmed by the International Court of Justice, to take all necessary action, including the interruption of diplomatic and trade relations, the suspension of any form of cooperation, and of course, the interruption of any provision of weapons to prevent serious violations of international humanitarian law. We live in a world in which pronouncements by the World Court, the International Court of Justice, and decisions by the International Criminal Court, established in 2001 to prevent and combat the impunity for the most serious crimes of international law, genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes, these decisions and pronouncements are regularly ignored, and they are circumvented even by countries who profess to comply with the rule of law. We live in a world in which proto-fascist governments seem to want to ignore the lessons from history, which shows that extraordinary crimes can be committed even by the most ordinary of men. So that we need powerful institutions, counterpowers, to protect the achievements of civilization from destruction and to protect history from oblivion. In many ways, these are terrorizing times. Every morning, we seem to be waking up in the corridors of a new dystopia. But Echo for Peace does give hope. Hannah Arendt summarized as follows the lessons from the stories of the Holocaust, the crime of crimes, the large-scale assassination of the Jews of Europe. The lesson of such stories, she said, from the Holocaust is simple and within everybody's grasp. Politically speaking, it is that under conditions of terror, most people will comply, but some people will not. Just as the lesson of the countries in which the final solution was proposed is that it could happen in most places, but it did not happen everywhere. And Hannah Arendt continued saying the following: humanly speaking, no more is required and no more can reasonably be asked for this planet to remain a place fit for human habitation. Well, I'm grateful to Echo for Peace for helping with its modest means, some notes of music, to ensure that this planet remains fit for human habitation. Thank you.